What's going on, everybody? This is John Hester here. I'm at Hester's Motorsports in Raton, New Mexico, and today I got something special for you. We have a Z950 Trail, the Gen 2 model, and I've got something really special for you today. So right now I'm going to show you something. We now have the Hester Edition Elka shocks complete and ready to order for your trail model. Gen 2 zforce 800 and 950 trail 50-inch wide machines. So I'm going to explain a few things. This is a stage 4. You're going to go down to the description of this video if you want to see what all 5 stages. I will have the video link of the Elka 5-stage breakdown that shows all 5 stages and what they offer. So now what we're going to do is we're going to come in here and explain. In order to fit these much bigger shocks on this machine, you have to remove the front sway bar. So this front sway bar is going to be permanently removed, not just unbolted here, the whole thing removed from the chassis. You need to get it out of the way because this shock is way bigger than this stock shock. So we're vastly improving the suspension on this with a much bigger shock. This is stock ones are a 1.5 inch body. This is a 2-inch body with a much higher grade suspension on it. So with this suspension, the shock, my shock is longer. I maximize the potential of this suspension system, and with this suspension system you're going to gain a little bit of ride height. Now, I don't jack these things up like a lift kit. This is a sport machine. It's not designed to be jacked up. And you see how short these A-arms are. You have an ATV A-arm on a side-by-side in order to keep it 50 inches. So basically, in order to do that, if you want to get 2 inches of lift, those A-arms really have to change position. And by doing so, you're giving up all that down travel. But because we have a longer shock and we maximize the potential, we're going to set you up 1 inch higher ride height than stock. Now, you can fit up to a 28-inch tall tire on the Z950 trails here, and with this setup you'll be able to have, if you put a 28-inch tall tire, that's going to give you another inch of ground clearance. So you're going to gain 2 inches of ground clearance with our shock and a 28-inch tall tire. You cannot run any type of a bracket lift with our suspension system because we maximize the full potential. If you try to run a bracket lift with our suspension system, you are vastly pushing it beyond its limits. You're going to damage something, you're going to break something. Remember, this is a sport side-by-side. This isn't monster truck side-by-side. If you want a monster truck, you should have bought a much bigger machine, much wider, and a different class of machine. This is a 50-inch trail. You buy a trail machine to be on a 50-inch wide restricted trail. If your trails are not 50-inch wide, buy the sport model, not the trail. Trust me, it's worth it. The extra width and extra travel is definitely worth it. Now, this shock here is going to absolutely blow you away on its ride quality and most of all performance. I was driving this machine 50-inch wide, and it rides and performs and handles like a 64-inch wide machine. I kid you not. When you put a high-grade suspension system, our Hester Edition Elka suspension, you are completely changing the entire aspect of this machine. So we are gaining travel. You have more travel, more clearance, and a proper valve and sprung shock. This is a stage 4, so a stage 4 has low speed compression and rebound control clickers. But like I said, watch the 5-stage breakdown video if you don't know. Now we're going to go to the back here because there's things that you need to do on the back. So on the rear of your trail machine, if you are restricted to 50-inch wide, if you have to keep it narrow, you're not going to be running wheel spacers or nothing like that, because if you put wheel spacers, that puts you wider than 50 inches wide, and you're not going to be able to fit in those gates. So if you're going to be restricted, you want to run a stage 1 or stage 2 without the reservoirs. The reservoir does not increase performance, okay? The internal parts do. Our valving is absolutely mind-blowing. I got custom pistons. I have an exclusive 2-stage valving that I deal with, so it's low speed flushness and high speed performance is in an entirely different world. Mind-blowingly different world. So stage 1 or stage 2 on a 50-inch wide. If you want a stage 3, 4, or 5 with reservoirs and all this extra stuff, you have to run a 2-inch wheel spacer on the back, because you can see how close this tire is, because once again, it's a 50-inch wide machine. It's not designed to, you know, to have these big shocks into this narrow compartment, but that's why I design 1s and 2s. So with a 3, 4, or 5, you have to run a 2-inch wheel spacer on the rear of your on your rear wheel, and that is to give you clearance in between the tire and the reservoir. If you try to put a 3, 4, or 5 on a trail machine with no rear spacers, as soon as you put your wheel back on, your wheel is up against this reservoir. So this is massive compared to that little toothpick of a shock. Basically, this is what we call a 2x4. This is trophy truck. So, and this is all 5 stages out of the box is going to ride exactly the same. So all the valving and everything specs are all custom built and everything. It is a massive, I mean, I can't tell you what a massive upgrade it is. It's something to behold. And basically, putting a proper suspension system on your, that's a crazy setup that guy's driving over there. Anyways, when you put a high performance shock on your machine, the entire machine completely changes. I mean, absolutely changes. Now, you can run your sway bar on this, but I'm telling you, man, this suspension is so epic. You want to let the suspension do the work. Try it with or without the rear sway bar. This is up to you. If you're driving off-road, what the machine is designed for, this is off-road suspension. You want to get rid of the sway bars, because this thing with no sway bars, I mean, it just flat rails. I mean, we were 30, 40 miles an hour, 4-wheel drifting around corners in a 50-inch trail machine effortlessly, like nothing. I mean, it's control, lateral control, steering input, everything is, it takes the machine into a whole different world. So I would highly recommend removing the sway bars. Now, if you just drive around in roads and streets and stuff like that, now keep in mind, this is a 4-wheel independent machine. It's not going to drive flat like a Corvette. So if you turn a corner, it's going to lean a little bit, but it is nothing to worry about. Just get used to it. It's not like it's leaning over 35 degrees while turning a 90-degree corner at 10 miles an hour. It doesn't drive like that. So feeling the chassis move side to side a little bit is absolutely nothing. Now, of course, on a 50-inch wide machine, you're not going to turn a 90-degree corner at 50 miles an hour on asphalt. That's stupid, you know. Like I said, it's not a Corvette. It's not designed to do that. But this is designed for a 50-inch wide trail. And man, does this make the machine completely different. Now, so you want to keep in mind those different aspects to it. So like I said, if you have a Z950 Gen 2, this style, Gen 2 zforce 800 or 950 trail model, we have specific shocks for the trail and specific shocks for the Sport. The Sport is a 60-inch wide, which is basically the same chassis with a 10-inch long travel on it, 5 inches on each side. So that's where it comes into play. You know, if your trails are wider than 50 inches wide, trust me, spend the extra money and get the Sport machine versus the trail machine. This is if you're restricted in trail widths. So pick the right machine, because I've seen a lot of people, they'll buy a trail And they're like, man, it's really tippy. Well, it's only 50 inches wide. And then they put 2-inch spacers and then different offset wheels, and they're getting the machine wider. Why did you buy a trail? Right? When you're pushing it out past 50 inches, why did you buy a trail? Buy the sport machine in that aspect. You'll gain so much more. Now, these machines offer a tremendous amount of value for money. And people say, well, why would I put such an expensive shock on such a cheap machine, you know, a low-cost machine? Well, why do you think it's such a good price? Because they cut corners and put really cheap suspension on it from the factory. Now, you have to think like an OEM manufacturer. That's what they all do. I can go point to any single machine out there. Heck, even a Kawasaki KRX with Fox shocks is not perfect. Far from perfect. You know, right off the floor, shocks sag, shocks leak nitrogen. It's not Fox's fault. You have to look at the whole picture. An OEM manufacturer looks at what does it cost? How much money are they going to make? So keep that in mind. So the machines, these zforces, phenomenal machines. And when you put a proper suspension on it, oh my God, is it in an entirely different class machine? But then they're like, well, if I'm going to buy a machine with better suspension, I'll spend the extra money. Really? So you're going to spend 20 grand versus 12 or 13 grand and put a $2,000 shock, a set of stage ones on there, and tear up, you know, I mean, decimate a Razor 900 trail in every way. Heck, I make shocks for a Razor, you know, Razor 900 trails, S's, 1000s, all that stuff. And we sell quite a few because their shocks are terrible too. they're not any better. So don't think that. These are wonderful machines, but I just wanted to get all this out, let you guys know it's ready to order now. So call Hester's Motorsports, 575-445-3558, or message on Facebook on the Hester's Motorsports page. Be sure to join our shock owner page, Hester Edition Elka Suspension, on Facebook. Once again, look in the description. I will have links to all of this down below, so you can just click it. Now, the shocks are custom made. We go through and we ask you several questions about your machine and then build the shocks accordingly to your style. I have spent a tremendous amount of time in R&D, testing and prototyping these shocks. I've changed the shocks numerous times. I've changed springs numerous times because I want the absolute best performance for the best bang. It's incredible. When you change the shocks, I mean, you figure you put a set of wheels and tires on your machine, it did nothing for you. You know, oh, okay, I'm gonna put some different wheels, some 28-inch tires, you gain an inch, maybe a little bit better traction, but that's about it. You put a set of shocks, everything of the machine changed. Its handling, its steering, its lateral G-force control, how fast you can drive the machine. I mean, you could actually drive this machine like a sport machine. You take off both sway bars and it just decimates, you know, rocks and ruts a foot tall. I mean, it's crazy. But anyways, you just give Hester's Motorsports a call in Raton, New Mexico. We're open Tuesday through Saturday. Once again, that number is 575-445-3558. You give them a call, you tell them, I want a zforce Gen 2, and then they'll ask you what stage you want and go through all the questions and take care of that. But like I said, join the Hester Edition Elka suspension owners. Listen to what the owners of our suspension say. Praise upon praise. I let the suspension do this talking for me. So I could sit here and tell you until I'm blue in the face how epic it is. But then I have people say, well, you're just trying to sell them. I mean, heck, if you don't want to have that epic ride, then you can stay with your crappy shocks. But I'm telling you, the number one upgrade is suspension. You change the shocks on your machine, everything changes, and then you build around that. But changing the shocks is definitely the biggest thing that you want to do. So I want to thank you all. God bless. Make sure to hit that like. Give us a subscribe. We're doing a lot more stuff with the channel. My son's gonna start helping me out. We got some cool drones. We're gonna do some more action stuff. You're gonna see a whole lot more content coming, and I want to bring you along for the ride too. So make sure that you hit that subscribe button and click that notification bell, so whenever we put up a new video, we can get you going. So just remember, Hester Edition Elka suspension is exclusive through us. You cannot buy them anywhere else. You can call Elka and say, hey, I want the shocks for a Gen 2 zforce, and they'll be like, you got to call John. They're his shocks. He's the one that did all the work. So there you go. Why else would you buy from anyone else but me anyways? I treat you fair. I give you great prices. I do free shipping in all over North America. We ship worldwide. So you can message us. We do Australia, South America, Mexico. I've got shocks in Guam. I've got shocks in Indonesia, Thailand. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, it's awesome. Thank you all. God bless, and we'll see you in the next video.